Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I'm Lami Ali and Courage Ogeria. He is the sign language interpreter. We are live streaming on Vision TV 247 and on other social media handles. Let's now take the headlines. President Tinubu receives letters of credence from 3 new ambassadors designate, emphasizes Nigeria's strategic position in global peace and development. ECOWAS Court of Justice orders immediate release of Niger's ousted President Mohamed Bazoum by military junta. And Supreme Court of Nigeria upholds federal government's appeal against release of leaders of proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Now, President Tinubu has received letters of credence from 3 new ambassadors designate. During the ceremony at the State House, the new envoys, one after the other, presented letters of recall of their respective predecessors and letters of their appointments. They are Mr. Laurent Enfre, Ambassador Designate from Hungary, Mr. Christophe Bazivamu, High Commissioner Designate from Rwanda, and the Ambassador Designate from Ukraine, Mr. Ivan Kolostenko. They were earlier received with a guard of honor by the Presidential Guards Brigade. Now, the Supreme Court of Nigeria has upheld the federal government's appeal against the release of the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Olabode Arewa reports that the Apex Court held that although the manner through which his home was invaded was unjust, this should not prevent him from standing trial on criminal charges filed against him.
And the Court of Appeal decisions that the manner of Kanu's extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria was illegal and unlawful. The federal government had gone ahead to obtain an order against Nnamdi Kanu's release, saying he may not be available for his trial. The Supreme Court in the decision held that although the security agencies acted unjustly in the manner in which they invaded Kanu's home in 2017, no law forbids Nnamdi Kanu from facing trial for the alleged crimes he was accused of.
This is victory to our administration of criminal justice because it shows that once you are an accused person, once you are a defendant, no matter what excuse you want to bring to hide under the law to say that you should not be tried.
What the Supreme Court says represents the law. We respect it. We go by it. It simply means that we have to go back to the High Court and get done with this quickly. We still have hope.
The initial terrorism charges filed against the detained proscribed IPOB leader included membership of a proscribed organization and incitement of the public to disorder. Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
The Court of Justice of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, on Friday ordered the immediate release of Mohamed Bazoum, Niger's president, who has been held captive since the coup which overthrew him on July 26th. The court in Abuja ordered the defendants, the military authorities in Niamey, to release immediately and unconditionally all applicants, Bazoum and his family. The judge said it is Mohamed Bazoum who represents the state of Niger as he remains president of the republic and asked that Mohamed Bazoum be reinstated. He added that there are constitutional rights that have been violated as well as political rights. Mohamed Bazoum has been confined in his presidential residence with his wife Aziza and their son Salem since he was overthrown by a coup d'etat on July 26th. In mid-September, the deposed president appealed to the ECOWAS Court of Justice for his release and the restoration of constitutional order in the country. The application filed by his lawyers cited the arbitrary arrest and violation of the freedom of movement of Mr. Bazoum, his wife, and their son. Now, Niger military leaders have agreed to come up with plans to return civilians to power. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has demanded from the military rulers to begin the process of returning the country to democratic governance. The plans will be presented to ECOWAS as demanded for possible lifting of sanctions against the country. Speaking on Niger's national television, Togo's Foreign Minister Robert Dossey said he had reached an agreement on the content and timing of the transition with Niger's junta-appointed Prime Minister Ali Mohamed Lami and Foreign Minister Bakari Yao Sangari, after Niger became the latest country in the Sahel to experience a coup. With July's ouster of President Mohamed Bazoum, the regional grouping imposed tough sanctions and suspended trade, while also floating the option of military intervention. Now, the Sudanese army blocked civilians Friday from entering the city of Wad Madani as the war with paramilitaries entered its 9th month. Soon after the war began between the army and the Rapid Support Forces on April 15th, Wad Madani, 180 kilometers south of the capital Khartoum, became a safe haven for those fleeing the carnage. Wad Madani is the capital of Al Jazeera state, where 500,000 displaced people have sought refuge, according to United Nations figures. Initially spared from the war, Wad Madani has in recent months seen fighters encroach on the region, mobilizing troops and setting up checkpoints along the line of villages between Khartoum and Wad Madani. Both sides have been accused of indiscriminate shelling of residential areas, as well as targeting, looting and harassing civilians. Now, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban on Friday blocked 50 billion euros in EU aid for Ukraine after leaders sidestepped his opposition to agree to open talks with Kyiv on joining the bloc. A crunch summit in Brussels broke up after a day of wrangling as the Hungarian authoritarian leader refused to greenlight funding to help prop up Ukraine's government over the next 4 years. Orban called for unblocking all of the still frozen funds from the European Union for his country before considering lifting his veto on further aid to Ukraine. This is a great opportunity for Hungary to make it clear that it should get what it deserves, not half, then a quarter, but it must get the whole. The wrangling injected a bitter note over the summit a day after the leaders, minus Hungary, made the historic decision to open talks with Ukraine on its one-day joining the bloc. With the issue of grants and loans to Ukraine blocked by Hungary, the 26 other EU leaders have decided to hold a fresh meeting early next year to try to thrash out an agreement. Now, a former Somali refugee committed to bringing books and education to his compatriots in sprawling camps in Kenya has been named winner of the UN Refugee Agency's prestigious Nansen Award. Announcing the prize, United Nations Refugee Chief Filippo Grandi described him as living proof of that transformative ideas which can spring from displaced communities. Abdullahi, 36 years old, has been praised for championing the right to education by making available 100,000 books to children in Kenya's crowded Dadaab refugee camps. In an interview, he said a book can change someone's future, and he wants every child who is displaced to get the opportunity of being educated.
And as I say always, this is not a win to Abdullahi Mire. This is not a win to only children in Dadaab. It is a win to every displaced children, whether in Sudan or in Somalia, in Mali or Myanmar, in Congo or Central America.
Mire was born in Somalia, but amid unrest there, his family fled to Kenya when he was a young child. He spent 23 years in Dadaab, which expanded from a complex of 3 camps initially built in the 1990s to host some 90,000 refugees, which today are home to around 370,000 100,000 according to UN figures. Abdullah Hemiri, who occasionally worked for AFP, was resettled to Norway around a decade ago, but while he likes living there, he returned to Kenya as he said, "Europe is nice and safe, but it depends on what you want in life." Now, the world chairman of the International Human Rights Commission, Mohammed Shahid Khan, has decorated the African ambassador, Dr. Lami with the Medal of Honor for his outstanding performance, selfless service and dedication to humanity in African nations. The decoration was at the closing of COP28, United Nations Climate Change Conference at the UN building in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Dr. Lami, who was also decorated as the ambassador of SARS, indicating the class of Grand Cross in an order of merit based on the tradition of India. Dr. Lami, who a citizen of Nigeria, is currently Africa's ambassador at large of International Human Rights Commission, serving the whole African continent. The European Council says it remains committed to advancing the gradual integration between the European Union and the region during the enlargement process itself in a reversible and merit-based manner. This is part of an agreement reached at the last European Council meeting of the year. Hamman Jabani reports.
The European Council has endorsed the Council's conclusion on enlargement of 12 December 2023, building on the Commission's enlargement package of 8 November 2023. The European Council is taking the following decisions, which include to open up EU cessation negotiation with Ukraine and Moldova, grant EU candidature status to Georgia. Once it has met the necessary criteria, is believed to offer hope and incentive to those countries and their people to continue reforms needed to advance their EU ambition.
We'll open negotiations, and a report will be issued by the Commission in the weeks to come in view to make a decision. This is a historic moment, a historic European Council. We will address migration, we will discuss the external affairs, especially the situation in the Middle East, anti-Semitism. It's also part of the talk we'll have tomorrow, the fight against anti-Semitism and all the forms of racism and xenophobia.
The Council addressed how to strengthen security and defense in the EU in the context of global instability, strategic competition and security threat, while leaders take stock of progress and provide further guidance. In this regard, the leaders are expected to discuss how to increase the EU's defense readiness and work towards creating an internal market for defense. As the EU enlarges, successful European integration requires that Union policies be fit for the future and financed in a sustainable manner based on the values on which the Union is founded, and that EU institutions continue to function effectively. The European Council addresses internal reforms at its upcoming meeting with a view to adopting by summer of 2024 conclusion on the roadmap for future action. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
The role of the civil service is to translate government's policies into tangible realities for the Nigerian people. It is the engine room that drives policy implementation, ensures efficient service delivery, and ultimately shapes the future of Nigeria. Hence, the investment in the development of brightest minds, preparing them to take on the mantle of leadership in the years ahead. This was contained in Vice President Kashim Shettima's message to the 2023 Leadership Enhancement and Development Program graduation. Again, Hamman Jabani brings us the reports.
The Leadership Enhancement and Development Program is a vital pillar of the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021-2025 to identify, train, and equip middle-level officers with the requisite skills and competencies to assume leadership position in the future. The Vice President Kashim Shettima, who was represented, says the event makes further turning point in the fortune of the civil service and the great work that is being done in repositioning the service.
We can be sure that what we are seeing is a meshing, a fusion indeed, of the best practices in efficiency, result orientation and focus that the private sector is known for, while we consolidate on the people orientation of the public and civil service.
Other speakers charged the graduates to deploy their intellect with conviction, skills of purpose, and leadership integrity in their actions, and to be a beacon of hope, not just within the confines of their offices, but in every interaction, decision, and challenges they may face.
We will provide you with the platform and the guidance necessary to translate your potential into tangible impact. We are your partners in this journey, and we stand ready to make available the guidance and encouragement you need to excel.
This program will address the lingering challenge of succession planning in the civil service, as well as the poor public perception of the service in areas of efficiency, results, knowledge, and attitude.
If you make a habit of considering the impact of your actions and inactions on people and communities, you'll be more likely to stand up for the causes that truly matter, even when they diverge from personal interest. This is the heart of transformative leadership.
Experts say in today's fast-paced world of technology and innovation, the training is a necessary step towards ensuring the continued excellence and relevance of the Nigerian civil service as a principal player on the global stage. The 106 graduates underwent a 10-month training in all fields that will prepare them for future challenges in the service. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
This news is reaching you from the studios of NTA International in Abuja. Time now for some messages. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying. The Joint Committee on Niger Delta Affairs has invited the Minister of Finance, alongside that of the Niger Delta Affairs, to appear before it for clarifications on non-release of funds to the Ministry for the execution of capital projects as appropriated in the 2023 budget. The Joint Committee decided, after observing poor performance in the 2023 budget appraisal of the Ministry presented by the Minister. National Assembly correspondent Isa Mohammed has details on this and other ministries' budget defense.
Other issues raised during the 2024 budget defense were oil theft, vandalism of government infrastructure, abandoned projects, recruitment process, and capacity building.
The Ministry of Niger Delta is an interventionist ministry. It's not one of those ministries charged with the responsibility of the core mandate of doing certain things. The country wants to have maximum and effective running of this ministry.
Why don't we look at these nice days? Take 4 in Edo, put 2 in Imo, put 3 here, put 1 here, put 2 here, complete it.
Meanwhile, Minister of Police Affairs Ibrahim Gaido, alongside Inspector General Police, took turns to defend the 2024 budget of the ministry.
Still talking on the possibility of increasing the overhead costs and the capital expenditure. It will go a long way in helping us in achieving the renewed hope of Mr. President's agenda.
May I also seize this opportunity to renew the assurances of my firm determination to continue to synergize with the two committees towards the repositioning of the Nigerian police force to attain our commonly held vision of a stable internal security order in year 2024 and beyond.
We acknowledge their need to improve their funding and curtail security challenges, ensure sufficient operational capabilities, and enhance the officers' welfare.
We in the National Assembly will do the needful to ensure the necessary budget heads and sub-heads receive adequate sum, bearing in mind the physical constraint and financial challenges confronting the government vis-à-vis enormous task of providing security for the lives and property of Nigerians.
The Police Affairs Committee thereafter promised to support police and enhance its welfare and working condition to effectively discharge its mandate. In the meantime, the House of Representatives Committee on Legislative Compliance, headed by Yusuf Badao, has been inaugurated. From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
Now, Nigeria's inflation has surged again to 28.20% in November from 27.33% in October, indicating a worsening cost of living crisis in the country. Latest data just in from the National Bureau of Statistics reveals that headline inflation surged by 0.87 percentage points in November to a new record high in almost 2 decades. This shows that the headline inflation rate year-on-year basis increased in November 2023 when compared to the same month in the preceding year, that is November 2022. On a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate in November 2023 was 2.09%, which was 0.35% higher than the rate recorded in October 2023. The data shows that food and non-alcoholic beverages were the biggest contributors to the rise in inflation. Unlicensed project managers in Nigeria will no longer participate in project management in the country by 2024. Registrar of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, Henry Ifeanyi Mbadiwe, stated this in Abuja, that the body will continue to provide project management advocacy, standards, training and certification to project management professionals, he said, across the country to address the issues of abandoned projects while strengthening professionalism and compliance to standard procedure.
I will begin to man projects in Nigeria, man the leadership of projects in Nigeria. So going forward, we will not accept, if you are not part of us, if you are not a member, to practice project management in Nigeria.
The body say with the surge across industry sectors, several project management jobs calls for project managers to stop unlicensed practitioners from registering with the body.
Competent hands are saddled with this responsibility, enough of quacks. Definitely things are going to be changed in Nigeria. We have to do what is being done globally so that our project will be successful in Nigeria like any other part of the world.
Nigerians will be expecting good works from project managers from now henceforth.
The institute is responsible for the discipline and registration of its members and for other related matters. To foster a united front that can be of assistance and support to the President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, the Forum of all 2023 APC presidential aspirants is to hold an end-of-year dinner and inauguration on Monday, 18th December 2023 at Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. A statement by the convener, Senator Ahmed Rufai Sani Yerima, who is also the acting chairman of the forum, said the meeting, scheduled for 5 p.m. local time, will deliberate on many issues of national importance, with all former APC presidential aspirants in attendance. Now, the federal government has inaugurated a steering committee on a project implementation targeted at preserving biodiversities in communities across the country. The Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, says the project is a timely intervention to save the environment from degradation while also seeking viable economic opportunities for rural communities. Justin Bemunyi reports.
As part of its efforts to curb carbon emission into the atmosphere, the Nigerian government says it is prepared to plant 2 billion trees across the country. Nigeria's Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, confirmed this at the inauguration of the Steering Committee for Biodiversity Business, targeted at poverty reduction, preservation of natural ecosystem, and sustainable development. This is even as India has offered $1 billion support to deal with the scourge. The projects, according to the minister, are biodiversity business in Omo Biosphere Reserves in Ogun State, Urban Biosphere Reserves in Cross River State, and Shere Hills Reserves in Plateau State, Nigeria. It is a United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO project, through the Indian UN-funded window.
So I want the team I have in the ministry to start thinking in this direction. How many trees can we plant? If Ethiopia can plant cypress trees, how can you rejuvenate and revive our forests? If we do that, I think we can go a long way in trying to do away with the desert.
The goal of biodiversity business and green economy initiatives is to improve local communities' socio-economic status while conserving biodiversity and supporting women and youth entrepreneurship.
The India UN Development Fund was established in 2017 to promote shared prosperity in the global south. It is supported and led by the Government of India and implemented in collaboration with the United Nations agencies.
Inaugurating the committee headed by Professor Adeshola Adepoju in Abuja, Adepoju noted that the planting of the trees is one of the many takeaways of the President Bola Tinubu administration from the just concluded COP28 summit in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. It is envisaged that the project will contribute to Nigeria's National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 and the Renewed Hope Agenda. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
Up next is weather prospects for Saturday in Nigeria and other cities of the world. And this is where we end the news. I am Lami Ali. Courage Ogeriahi has been the sign language interpreter. Do stay tuned for other programs and have a good weekend.